Hello, welcome to Staring into the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach, and I'm currently recovering from a horse bite. With me, as always, is Matt Brandenburg.
It might be cold outside, but I still want to take a dip in that beautiful water.
And Bitlame Mist.
I don't know about you guys, but I really don't want to drink from the tap.
And the sinister mastermind behind all of this is Matt Wildasin, author of It Comes from the Sea, or It Came from the Sea.
Thank you guys for having me back for what seems to be my annual pilgrimage to the abyss.
I think you've been here as a guest more than any other guest we've had on this podcast.
So you're not getting many people? Is that the
Well, we're just a little too crazy for people.
That just ended your pilgrimage.
Oh no. I that was a knock at myself, honestly.
And what's funny is, like, before you jumped on, Rich and I, because we had read, and I researched it now officially, but we had read The Raft, Stephen King's The Raft, and I don't know if you've read that one. Have you read that?
I have not, no.
Okay, so it's in Skeleton Crew. It's a short story.
Okay.
And it's not. I couldn't remember if you were the one that had brought it up. It was actually Bo Johnson, but like, if you had been on and recommended that one, it would have been like the perfect Easter egg for this story. I'm not saying they're the same, but there's a thing on the water in that The Raft, and I was like, as soon as I started reading this, I was like, wait a minute, was Matt on and like punking us from like a year ago?
Yeah, it had like serious Raft vibes. I was like, why does this feel familiar? And then I was like, I can't remember the goddamn name of the short story. What is this? And then you guys saved it. So yeah, The Raft.
The Raft. Okay. I'll definitely I'll have to check into that. I know I have Skeleton Crew around here somewhere. And
It's a great short story. One of the better ones from Skeleton Crew.
I think it's in one of my several bookshelves that are just all Stephen King hardbacks. So I pity the person who has to, and that's, I've told my wife before, I was like, I hope you, not trying to be mean, but I hope you pass away before me, because if I die first, I feel terrible for you having to deal with all of this crap that like all these books, all these like comics, like it's just
seriously?
Yeah.
Oh God. When like every move was always like, I dreaded having to move all the books because that was just like weighed more than all the furniture combined. And I'm like, damn it.
Literally, I make totes that's like half books and then half clothes.
Yeah.
Just to like make them easier to move.
It's crazy. So yeah, I hear you on that. Just collections and collections of stuff.
Well, it's a damn shame that Skeleton Key wasn't printed after this, because then I could be calling Stephen King for some royalty.
You gotta pay up, Mr. King.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say the similarities are not. There's not a lot. There's just literally a thing on the water. A black, like, I think it was like a black goo on the water in the raft. And so like, you definitely took it in a really fun direction. His like, especially when you read it. And then if you can, and we talked about this on the episode too, but at the back, he kind of, he does his little story notes, and his whole story note for this was like, I wrote it. It was published somewhere. I can't find where it was published. If somebody can send me that copy, that would be great. Like,
well, I'll tell you what, I'll read it, and then next year, this time when I come back on again, then we can talk about it.
Yes. Like, guy, remember that?
It's like, oh, October's almost coming up. That means Matt's going to come on.
It's start of our spooky season.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I think this is a perfect story basically to end the summer, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Because it's a summer blockbuster, extreme horror, creepy creature feature novella.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Like, this is just a blast to read. And even before we get into it, if our listeners haven't bought it yet, just go to Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, anything, just buy it, read it. It is tons of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you.
And I think we should get into our media stuff before we dive into the sludge that is covering the water.
Yeah.
So, I have been playing a video game called Cult of the Lamb.
Oh yeah.
Have you been playing this one, Matt?
I haven't, but I've been seeing a lot about it, and the game publisher that put that one out, I really like too. So,
Have you guys heard of Cult of the Lamb before?
I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
So it's like Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon meets The Binding of Isaac. Where you play as a lamb who has been chosen by He Who Is Waiting, the old elder god, and you are forming a cult in his name to give him power to destroy the new gods that have been taking over the worlds and give the world to the old god who remains.
It's pretty amazing. You're like, because you're like a lamb, right? Or like
You're a lamb, yeah.
Yeah, and you're cute. You're a cute little lamb.
And you gain cult followers as it goes, and you have to do little management things with the cult followers. You can also sacrifice them. You can force them to eat poop if you want to.
I mean, who wouldn't? Like, if that's an option, like I am smashing the fuck out of that key. If that's an option.
Oh my god, I didn't know about that.
Yep.
Here's your daily ration of poop.
There was one thing I did in the game that I thought was really funny, but I had a character, one of the members of my cult, and he thought it would be really funny every cult member has like a goal they want you to do to help them become like stronger members of your cult. And his goal to me was he wanted me to feed another cult member poop. So I did that. And then he laughed, and then his cult thing raised, and then he began saying negative things about me and my cult. So, wasn't a fan of that. So I sacrificed him.
Oh my god.
To teach him a lesson. Then, because I'm kind, I brought him back to life. Because that's also an option in the game too with your sacrifices.
Perfect.
And then I let him live out his thing. He ended up having a romance with another cult member. Then I decided to sacrifice him again. And then I used his corpse to become a bomb. And now he forever follows me in the dungeons. And whenever I enter a room, he runs to the nearest enemy and blows himself up.
Oh, that's great. That's a lot of fun.
It's good to have plans and priorities. It
is. Good to have goals, I guess.
I will say the gameplay isn't as like deep as like Binding of Isaac, because Binding of Isaac has really great roguelike elements. Mm-hmm. This one, it's because it's part like management sim and part roguelite, it doesn't really give the deep mechanics as you'd expect from some of the other games in the genre. But everything it does really, really well. And plus, you're a cute little lamb that runs a cult.
That feeds people poo.
That feeds people poo and sacrifices people to elder gods. And
is everyone else?
The game doesn't exist.
Are everyone sheep?
There's all different types of like animals.
Okay, interesting.
Animals. But you're the lamb. It's honestly like I highly recommend it. I got a few other things, but I'll pass it over to Matt before we return back to me.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. I did not play any games or read any books about feeding people poo.
Shocking.
I did, however, read Cody Goodfellow's The Flying Nun, which is Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing. I don't know if anyone here has read this yet. It came out.
Love Cody Goodfellow stuff, though.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. This came out, I think, last year sometime, and basically and I should have it in front of me, but I don't. Basically, you are, and Goodreads is being funny. Betty Rocksteady She did some artwork for this, so there's lots of really cool like her drawings, which are great. They add to it. You're Gala Morawski, and you again, I'm stuck in a video game world. Let me backtrack. Gala, she is like a teen. She joins a nunnery because she just doesn't want to deal with the world anymore. And she gains a special power that allows her to become like an angel, kind of a spirit that as a teen, she instantly goes for these terrible priests and the Pope and makes them do things in her mind that are good things, and probably for 99% of our listeners are good things, basically telling like priests, stop sleeping with little kids. And the Pope, you should make things better because you're damning all these people that aren't exactly like you want. And then she, in this like sort of spirit world, sort of drops them down high heights or kind of kills them. They don't actually die, but then they're usually really shooken up, and they take her advice really well. So it's really fun, that concept, and it slowly gets into this other cult that wants her, and they had given her this power because they're going to make a brand new god, and she needs to, feed this god so that way they can make the world a better place. And then it turns into a giant kaiju and starts smashing things because she does not agree with them making rules for people. And it was a lot of fun. It's just this really wacky, kind of weird story. And, I've seen people talking about it, but it's kind of in that weird spot where it came out, like I said, last year, and I think it kind of flew under the radar a little bit. So I'm hoping I can bring it back because it's a good one. And I burned through it probably like in 2 days, and there's just a lot of fun little looks at like religion and just what a teen can kind of do and see that's just not right. And like her mom writes all these self-help, like angels exist kind of crystal books, and the teen's like, well, it's all just BS because I'm just coming up with this stuff to help my mom. And so like I love that commentary, and just the kind of commentary on like, hey, it should be who's gonna force the rules, and she doesn't even want to force the rules on the world as this giant god, but she's still kind of showing up and kind of making things right. So that was a really good one. Cody Goodfellow, The Flying Nun, None.
Cody Goodfellow also has a reprinting coming out through Ghoulish Books, I think, like next week.
Oh, nice. Look at that. Perfect timing.
So Cody's stuff is great. I always recommend reading Cody, but he's super underread. Fantastic stuff.
Yes, definitely. So it was a blast. Hunt it down.
Perfect. Vent LeMay, what about you?
That's a good start.
Basically nothing, guys. I'm not even kidding. I haven't been consuming any new things all week. Except for I've been continuing listening to the audiobook of Hell Followed With Us. The trans a YA horror story that I told you about last week.
Yes. Are you enjoying it?
I am. Yeah, it's really nice.
Good.
It is falling into what I suspect could be a love triangle, but I'm hoping it won't. Because I hate those tropes.
That is kind of a common YA trope, though.
Yeah, but it still is weird among all the body horror in this.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit. I'm like, oh look, my tooth, and I have to grab, like, they take a plier to remove this fang that is like growing out of my mouth, and I'm like, no. And then like in the next chapter, she's like, I'm so in love with this guy, but then I also like this guy, and I'm like, no, don't go in that. Keep up with the body horror, please.
Yeah, I feel like romance, like usually love triangles, has recently become a really big YA trope. It wasn't always there, but I think
the Hunger Games and Twilight just really brought it like through the roof.
But like, I don't know, I read a lot of YA that isn't really genre. Like, I like Jason Reynolds' books a lot, and Jason Reynolds doesn't really do the love triangle stuff in his books. But I think it's kind of like a YA like sci-fi fantasy horror genre thing where like there's always a love triangle in the genre stuff.
Yeah, it's just unnecessary. I'm hoping it will maybe develop into like maybe a like a polyamorous thing. And I was like, I mean, that would be pretty cool. They need rep too.
In our bookstore, we have a whole section in our YA section that's just LGBTQ like YA books, and it's like a really big section. I kind of like how we're kind of crafting stuff like that out for like the genre as well.
Yeah, I like
Nice.
that too. I also, yeah, like I said, I really like the queer rep in this book, and also like the autism rep as well.
It's good.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So yeah, not really been watching anything new or anything, but I am excited. We're gonna watch it tonight. Um, you probably guys don't like it or not. I don't know. Um, my husband and I, we've like been huge fans of the Unsold series
I don't think
with
I've heard of that.
No, I haven't heard of it.
with Ryan and Shane. They call themselves the Ghoul Boys. They were on BuzzFeed.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but they moved they moved away from BuzzFeed and just created their own stuff. And it was I don't know if it's available in the States, but on Prime here, like Amazon Prime, you can watch the entire series there.
Perfect.
Is it a reality show?
Yeah, it's just they like Ryan is like deathly afraid of ghosts.
Okay.
And they go.
Yeah, and Shane is not. He just like he doesn't believe it at all. And they go to these places that are supposed to be haunted, and they like talk about the history and and then they do a little nice commentary always in between, which is so funny because they have such good chemistry. And then they spend the night there.
Nice.
And Shane does whatever it takes to make Ryan's life miserable during the It's fantastic. And they just announced that they're making like I think they founded their own company now, and they are starting again, but it's not Unsold anymore. It's called Ghost Files.
Ghost Files.
Yeah, and I think the first episode dropped yesterday, so we're like we're gonna watch it tonight.
So like in his need to torment the other dude, like how does this happen? Does he have people dress up like ghosts and run around?
No, nothing like that. Like they try to make it as authentic, like similar to Ghost Adventures.
Okay.
But they're not like Ryan is genuinely just showing his feelings when he is scared. You can just see that, and he always just like looks in the camera like I'm shitting my pants right now. And just Shane, he just like, okay, so I'm gonna go first and walk through the deserted hallway over there for like 20 minutes. Don't know if anything's gonna come up, but you will hear me if I say something. And then they just leave, and just Ryan just stands behind the door like, wait, what? Wait, I stayed by myself.
Yeah.
And then he's just walking around, just humming to himself, and he's just looking like a guy who's so bored of this, and he's like, "Oh, come on, ghosts! I'm right here. Just come and fucking possess me."
Possess me.
Yeah, he just tries whatever it takes to piss off the ghosts, just to see if there's any reaction, and if there is, then he just comes. He walks after he's done. He's like, "Oh yeah, I think I saw something move," and then he's like, "Okay, your turn."
Yeah, it's a really fun show.
A cute little lamb shows up and starts feeding him poo, and
Yes, it's a really fun show. Like I love those guys, so I definitely recommend to check it out. If you haven't checked out Unsold, just definitely do. They have like a couple of variations. They have like Unsold, which is paranormal, in which they go to the ghost sites and stuff, and then they have also Unsolved True Crime, in
Yep.
which they talk about like unsolved crime that has happened all around the world. They even took one of the Icelandic cases here.
oh, that's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was so much fun to hear them mispronounce everything.
But Matt, what about you?
Well, I can't say that I feel like I'm in the same boat as Villamy, that I haven't been really consuming much new. Um,
I mean, there has been a lot of like new seasons of this, and then you're like, oh yay.
well, see, here I want to give you guys a poke behind the curtain. Almost every other day, Rich will hit me up on Messenger and be like, "Did you see this movie? Did you see the show?" And I'm like, "I'm adding it to the list." Like
What was
he
last year?
has.
Do you,
He's
Matt?
given me enough media for like a year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It was like adding this to your never-ending list of media recommendations from Rich.
Yep. And I mean, to be fair, they're all good recommendations. I don't know. I feel like this coming March I turned 40. And I think in my brain for new things, I'm like in my early 80s. Because I feel like in the past couple of years I've wasted so much time watching something that like blew up and everybody's like, "Oh, this is amazing." And then I sit there watching it and I'm like, this is hot garbage. What are people talking about? And then I realize I'm not in tune with the same thing that's popular right now. So I have to just play like nothing but Destiny 2 for the rest of my life.
There you
go. Just keep watching the same 20 movies over and over and over again that I grew up with in the 80s and 90s. I know
Yes.
I mean, you know what though? There's something wrong with that.
I mean, like,
there's nothing wrong to going back to comfort, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you sometimes don't need to be swaddled by comfort. You should put yourself out there into uncomfortable situations and experience new things. But I don't know. At the same time, I'm just kind of like, I don't have all the time in the world to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I
So-
know.
Because I know I still need to see Prey on Hulu, and I know everybody says it's really good, and I've been waiting since Predator 2 for a good Predator movie.
Yeah.
I think it's part of the.
You're on the same side as me that Predator 2 is the best one.
Oh, it's a fantastic movie. That was before Danny Glover was too tired for any of this shit.
Yes. Yes. He's fucking amazing in it.
Yeah, he's great. You have Bill Paxton in there being Bill
Yes.
Paxton,
Oh, totally.
And like living his 80s dream of getting slaughtered.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like he always does.
Yeah, like everyone talks about Sean Bean a lot, and I'm like, I'm sure Sean Bean does have a higher death count than Bill Paxton did in films, but
Bill Paxton has some great deaths.
oh yeah, amazing deaths.
Yes.
But I guess currently, I'm doing the same thing I do every spooky season. So you guys will probably hear me say this next year too. I'm reading folklore books that I gather when I go around, like during the summer when we go and visit like towns and stuff like that. So I read their ghost books, and I picked a few choice books off the shelf. I just finished a Halloween Fiend by C.V. Hunt the other day. Love that book. It's such a cool concept.
That one's fun.
And like I read it and I said to myself, like, great, I have to shelve this idea I had because it's the exact same idea. But it's a fantastic book. I really like it. I'm reading through Below as well by Laurel Hightower.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Fucking loving that.
It's so good.
Rereading through my Scary Stories anthology too.
Yes.
You have to. I mean,
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
if you're not doing that during this time of the year, then you're fucking up Halloween, in my opinion. And then I have a few choice Goosebump books pulled out of the collection I'm going to read through eventually. So other than that, movie-wise, we're re-rolling through the same movies that I usually go through. There was somewhat of a new joy with it this year because usually my wife didn't like watching these kind of movies with me. I apologize if you hear that motorcycle just drive by.
for like a heartbeat, I was like, somebody's stomach is really growling.
I'm sorry, that's me. I got some Korean fried chicken coming.
Your stomach will sound like that before and after you finish.
Yeah.
No, the stomach says it before. My ass was not get out.
Yeah, just like, oh yeah, give it about an hour, and then your ass has to make an evacuation. But we're watching through some films that she's never seen before. So we started off like with Beetlejuice,
Nice.
and we rewatched the first Addams Family, which she said, I have seen this, but as we're watching it, she's like, I do not remember any of this. She's like, is the sequel as good? I'm like, it's as good, but the plot's like pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
There's like somebody trying to steal the Addams Family doubloons, It's like,
Yep.
So I have a question for you, Matt.
Sure.
Are you gonna sit down and watch that new Rob Zombie Monsters movie on Netflix when it comes out on the 27th?
Now, I had thought about doing that for Grindcast because I'd like torturing those boys. Because early production stills of this thing, I had high hopes.
Me too.
Because I was like, the monsters look good. I'm not completely on board with Sherry Moon Zombie being in this again, and in another, with her Emmy award-winning fucking acting skills. The grandfather to me looked a little goofy. I'm like, it's the Rob Zombie version of the grandfather, but whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But then that first trailer dropped, and then my ass was clenched so tight the entire time. I was so mad because I'm just like, yeah, the monsters are goofy. I get that, but you took this to like a fucking like WB type like level of goofiness with this. And the production value looks about as par as WB as well. And I was blown away by it. I was like, how do we have budgets for films like this and they come out looking like that?
It looks so fucking bad.
Yeah.
I
can't. I put my friends through watching Morbius 2 weeks ago.
Ooh.
And
You liked this torture.
I think Morbius would be a rewatch before the Munsters, and I'm calling it right now. Like, I am gonna be so like I grew up, watching Munsters on like Nick at Night.
Yeah,
me too.
Because they replayed it. I don't know what it was at that point in time, but they were just like, oh yeah, we got the rights to the Munsters, and they played it, and it was like kids watching it, not the old people.
Yeah, right.
So they're like, oh yeah, just run with it, just roll with it. And I loved that show, but that trailer did not have that feel. You can, and for whatever reason, I'm like, why did you do this in color?
True.
Like, I know what the colors of these characters, like, I know, like, your Frankenstein's monster is supposed to be green and everything, but it's such a juxtaposition when you finally see it. And it's like in something that's even more of a vibrant shade than like, what was that in the first color in the old movies?
Technicolor?
What was that called? What's that?
Was it Technicolor?
Technicolor, yeah.
Yeah.
This looks like
Technicolor was
Technicolor
very
times 5.
Yeah. It takes like those high contrast washed out tones of like Technicolor and then just like puts steroids in it.
Yeah, isn't it? It's like really oversaturated.
Yeah.
It looks terrible.
I thought like it looked like Nickelodeon Studios got their hands on the saturation level.
And just smear the cameras with this Nickelodeon slime.
It probably looked better because I wouldn't be able to see what the fuck's going on.
So I'm looking forward to it. But that
Matt always playing devil's advocate.
Now I would
that for Matt, everybody.
That trailer, I was not like, it looked like they went to a school for, I don't know, people at video editing, and they said, hey man, here's a bunch of random footage, just put it together. We're not even gonna, do your own voices, it'll be great. Like, I don't know, like, it felt like a first pass trailer that like an exec should have saw and then said, hey, let's fix this up a bit, because even just the production of the trailer was like really poor. I was sad about that. And I agree. I think it should be black and white, which is funny. Like, talking about growing up in the 90s, I had on cassette, because I'd record from MTV, all of his music videos from White Zombie. And so like I knew his, his style, and like he's done really awesome black and white music videos and then also really weird colored things. So I'm like, I don't know. like, I have high hopes. I'm definitely gonna watch it. I don't know if I'll like it, but I'm definitely...
Well, I have high hopes that your sanity will be intact once you're done watching it.
My insanity will be there.
I'm gonna like the day it drops. All I'm gonna be worried about is you the entire time.
I know. I'm like, it's Mondo has released a soundtrack. I almost picked it up because I was like, yeah, why not? It's got all of them singing in it. That should be a blast.
I mean, at least I was happy to at least hear the theme song didn't get like a Rob Zombie version of it, because I would have been like, no, hard pass.
Yeah.
Well, I will say before we dive in, a couple things I did watch this week because I'm a madman. I had very low hopes for the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime, but I decided to watch it anyway, and it is actually one of my favorite shows of the year.
Yeah, nice. That show's doing for Cyberpunk what The Witcher did for the Witcher games.
It literally revitalized the whole game outside of the anime, but like legit, I cried for like 5 minutes at the end of that anime.
Oh wow!
Like it really hit me like very hard in the feels. It was a really great story, really great character work, gory as hell. Like it's super fucking gory. But it's just like a fantastic anime, and even if you haven't played the game, like it's worth watching.
Nice.
It works as its own thing. Like you don't need to know anything about Cyberpunk to enjoy the anime. But it also, they kind of both add to each other at the same time. So it's kind of cool how it worked out.
I do find it interesting that because this is another CD Projekt Red game.
Yeah.
That got turned into a Netflix show. I feel like they do this like our numbers are down. Call Netflix.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I will say they announced this anime 2 years ago. Like when they were about to do the game rollout, they did announce this anime 2 years ago.
Oh, so it came out late like the game too. So.
Yeah. So like it had been in the running for at least like in a while. But the anime itself, it's about this kid named David Martinez, who's like this dude living with his like single mom in Night City, and she is a nurse as well as an illegal weapons trader to help make money and put his son through an elite academy to get him out of their poverty they're living in. And Perfect. She ends up dying in a drive-by shooting. And
I'm sorry, all of this sounds so silly. I live in Night City. I'm a nurse by day, a guns tradesman by night.
I got killed in a drive-by.
It all fits in the world of like Cyberpunk. I play the tabletop for Cyberpunk too. But like it all fits in kind of the silly world of Cyberpunk. But then like after that whole happens, David's character journey is fucking so good. And all the beats were like fucking fantastic. And it's very fucking tragic. I'm saying fucking a lot. It's very fucking tragic.
Hey now.
And then the only other thing I watched this week, well, I'm watching a documentary which is about the U.S. and the Holocaust by Ken Burns. Not going to bring this conversation down with that documentary, other than it's on PBS. It's 6 hours. Watch it. And I just watched the Jujutsu Kaisen movie, Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which is one of the best anime movies I've seen in a while. Huh. It's a prequel to the Jujutsu Kaisen anime, but like it's such hard to explain. Pretty much picture in action, like fighting anime that has blends of horror elements, like a lot of horror elements mixed in with like the over-the-top fights. And that's kind of Jujutsu Kaisen. And it is a fucking blast. But that's kind of it for me in this week.
Awesome.
I think we're ready to swim in this muck.
You ready to tear this thing apart?
Tear it up.
Fucking rip it a new ass.
Oh my gosh. So where even to begin?
I mean, this story just hits the ground running pretty much.
Yes. It like Fitmay, like you said, beginning of this, it is definitely a perfect end of summer read. Like, because you capture that kind of boardwalky beach town concept and life, like just perfectly. You know, it's I've been in those types of towns, and you can just picture everything, and just that like that concept of this thing floating in the water just messing with people. So I loved all of that. The one thing I was thinking of, and I know we brought up the raft earlier, but the other thing I sort of, and it's very little, so like just, but in my brain, because I connect weird things together, I was feeling tiny bits of Nope in this. I don't know if you saw that movie, but
I have not.
Oh.
So
and so well, and again, it's very very tangential, or however you say that word. And it's again just like I have this weird. My brain sometimes puts random things into random places, and like the concept of this thing, and we'll get into the story for everyone listening, but like the concept of this thing in the water, kind of basically wanting to eat people, and by doing this kind of like mesmerizing thing to some, like I just kept thinking of it in Nope, a scene when it kind of was fully expanded, this alien thing. It was like, it seemed like it was trying to mesmer people to look up so it would eat it. So that like kept popping into my head. It just like these kind of scenes of people like looking into the water and like having to walk into the water, even though everyone's trying to stop them. I was like, oh man. And yeah. So anyway, that's where my head goes sometimes.
You know, for me, it felt like they were like when I was reading it, I like I said, I immediately got like the raft vibes from it. And then as I continued reading, I was like, no wait, this is basically if the raft and Stephen King's The Mist and Lovecraft had a threesome. This is the outcome.
Yeah.
Hey now.
Ooh.
Giggity.
Because it has the there's a strange substance in the water which is like comes from the raft, and then it also has this kind of like it just came unexpectedly like in The Mist, and people were just dying horrifically like the scene in the diner.
Yeah.
That was super reminiscent of the scene in the storage area in the supermarket in the Mist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That just I was like, I know where this is going, and it is not gonna be fun. And then it also like it ties also together with the Lovecraftian horror, like eldritch horror that you see with all the tentacles thing and the fucking horse.
Yeah.
It's like when he said pony, I was like, oh, I immediately imagined like Icelandic horses because they're usually considered ponies because they're, and I quote this like I have air quotes, they're small. To me, they're not because I'm small. So, and I was like, oh, that's nice. And then shit happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, that's horrifying. And then this chase scene also gave me Jurassic Park vibes.
Yes.
I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Honestly, I can agree with that.
And you know, what I really loved about the fact that you just went straight to the balls into this with the horror. You just didn't let go. Like
Yeah.
from the first fucking page, I was like, oh, well, these are gonna be the main characters. Oh, nope, they're not gonna be that.
Yeah.
And then the next chapter, oh, these are gonna be the main characters. Nope, that's not happening. And there was like, how many people are dying? And okay. So it was just like so wild. I was like, oh, everyone's dying. That's fresh.
But what I loved that you did, because it is how because I kept thinking about it, how all these people were going to get tied together, our characters, and you did a really good job of how you kind of blended them together. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. This is just going to be a big love fest, by the way.
Well, yeah, I also love the fact that you added like these elderly guys because usually that is not, the thing in most horror.
Right.
Yeah.
And just seeing them try to fight this whatever monstrosity is happening, while at the same time that you added like, oh yeah, their knees popped when they jumped up, and I'm like, yep, that's gonna happen.
I really
Like
like. Oh, you
Go ahead,
go.
Rich.
Sorry. I was gonna say I really like the Courtney character as well, and everything, and like her whole journey and the fucking horrible shit that happened to her.
Oh yeah.
I felt
God.
she was a very sympathetic character, and the way the town was like going insane and treating her made me so fucking angry throughout this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you would see something like that if this actually happened. You would see things like that for real happening.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because like you said, like fear makes people do bad shit, insane things.
Well, it's like what is it? This got trending on TikTok like last year, but there was like an incident where some guy got a milkshake. I guess that had got a peanut butter milkshake and gave it to his daughter that had a peanut allergy, and then
yes, I remember
like,
this. Yeah.
flipped out people who made the milkshake about like poisoning his daughter and putting her in the hospital. And it's like they didn't do anything wrong. They're doing their fucking jobs. You're being a fucking dick who gave your daughter with a fucking peanut allergy a peanut butter milkshake.
Exactly. This is something that you should have addressed.
But
And
like
sometimes 1 and 1 equals 2, and that's all you need to know.
but it's also like but that reminded me of how they act to Courtney. Like, you didn't boil the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kept on yelling that at her.
So how about, because normally I try to describe it, how about we have you, Matt, describe your book?
Oh, well,
To
it's
our
the
listeners.
best thing ever written.
No, but
get a beat.
basically this
We
is
can
this is
accept
every
that.
author's fear that they have described their own book. So I'm looking forward to this, Matt, because this is what I hate.
Up the challenge, Matt. Play a beat and have Matt
Oh.
freestyle with it.
Beatboxing.
So I wrote this book, and it's really rad. Something in the sea is pretty bad. Okay. So I'll take you back.
Take us
to
back.
The concept of this. So the town in this book, if you've been there, it's Ocean City, Maryland, through and through. We usually go there every year for a summer vacation, and I know the one year we went there, we went hiking in it's called Assateague Island. It's a far island off near. It's like further north from Ocean City, or no, it's further south. I'm sorry, and it joins with the ocean and the bay, and that they have horses, so that's where the horse thing came from. But we were going to go swimming there, and they have these long walkways that go out so you can get down to the beach, and they're rather high up. And I saw, and it was probably just a school of fish, some mackerels or something like that, but it was a huge dark mass of these fish, and they were just kind of like, it just looked like they were taking the waves in and out, like just like, hey, let's have a lazy weekend too, and it just sparked the idea in my head. I was like, what if like it's not fish, and of course I say these things to my wife, and she's just like, stop it, we're on vacation. I'm like, no, but seriously. And from that simplistic thing, that's kind of like where the basis of the idea came from, that I'm sure lifeguards and stuff that have to watch out for sharks, they see shit all the time that looks like a shark, or looks like something that, whoa, that's huge. What's that? And, maybe it's a school of fish. Maybe it's a shape-shifting eldritch beast that's going to eat everybody in town. You never know.
Yeah, it just really drives up my thalassophobia.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Which is pretty fucking bad, because I live on an island and there's like sea surrounding me, so I'm like, yay.
Well, maybe that might not be the best situation for you. If you ever decide to move and you have a megalophobia fear, don't go to Japan then.
I've already lived in Japan, man.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize that's where you live.
Surprise.
Well, I fucked that up. Anyhow. Well, then stay.
What are you gonna do about it, Matt?
Lily likes to torture herself. That's I think what we're learning right now.
Yeah. Yep. Masochistic as fuck.
I want to know how you guys afford to make things like that too. That's somebody needs to tell us over here how to budget. Anyway. So yeah, that was the simplistic basis of it. And I was previous to this, I have something that's shelved, and I'm probably going to work on it again sometime. But it was a book where I wanted to tax myself with trying to write an entire town's worth of characters. So we're talking like 20 plus.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And I got to a point where now this was God. I started this back when it was like Horrors Untold Volume 1 and 2, so very early. And I got to a point where I realized I'm kind of in over my head. So I'm gonna do some things down the road that might get my feet wet with multiple characters. And I decided to try that with this. And my tactic kind of mimicked a little bit of like Under the Dome, where you had different, I would say, sects of people that were around in a somewhat close area that everything's maybe within an hour of the other like group of people that are characters. So I tried going with that approach where each chapter would be from a different person's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it went very well. It was easier to write that way than what I was trying to do in the other one, where you just have a guy walking down the street and there's, oh, hey, Bill. Oh, hi, Mark. Oh, hey. And you're just like, okay, don't want to fucking read that. Like, even in small towns nowadays, people are like, oh, there's that guy. I want to talk to him. I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah, right. 100%.
100%.
Suddenly I'm like, oh, something happened on my phone. I better turn around and look at it.
Yeah. Or you just like, oh, I've got a call. And you just
I got a thing. I'm sorry. And then they look at my phone and it's just like Snake or something. And I'm like, I'm super busy.
Oh, that's my proctologist. I gotta go.
Yeah. Oh my God, something's wrong with me. I better go. These are my insides.
So that was the angle for the prose I wanted to go about with this, was trying to get more than just one or two characters in a book that follow along in a journey, like some of the previous things I've written. That was the goal I had, and then the secondary thing was I was dipping my toes in trying to write extreme horror for the first time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I always wanted to try it, and I have works that are also shelved where I've tried, and it just always ended up going more to the quiet side of things. So I was just them there. I'm like, well, that didn't work. Maybe I'll come back to it later when I get things figured out. And I feel for a first attempt, I kind of did okay. I know in some certain things with extreme horror, you have to go even more extreme than where I even went. And there are some things where I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was actually kind of waiting for when the mob kind of turned and were kicking the shit out of her. I was actually like, oh God, please don't let this be a gang rape. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that kind of stuff. I really can't.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and it that scene, actually, it's funny because that is like, even without that, it's still super intense where you're just like, oh God, I don't want this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go heavy in the body horror genre as well.
Oh yeah.
Because that's another one where I dabbled in, but it's one of those things where I feel like watching it in a movie is it's a lot simpler than trying to write it down, because you have to be very descriptive to get the idea of what's happening to a character in your head across to the reader.
Yes.
And if you don't put enough in there, they're not seeing what you're seeing. And, you're the fucked up one because you're writing it. So you want to make sure they see what you're seeing. And yeah, I when it came to certain parts, I did a little bit more detail for things than I probably would have, because I don't like when you read books and a character shows up and you basically get the laundry list from head to toe of what this person looks like, and now we're back to the story.
Yeah.
I like it when it's more sprinkled through. and you can still you still get the story that's going on, and you get a gist of what this person looks like. Because in the end of the day, I can tell you exactly what somebody looks like. I can put a mole in a certain spot on their face. That doesn't still put that person in your head.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have these people the way you want to see them.
Something like, and I can't remember what or when, but listening to some podcast with Chad Lutzke, he had talked about that too, where he's like, I know that most of the time when you're reading it, you kind of build your own picture regardless of what the writer is telling you. So, you know, why waste a word count with exactly what you said, a head to toe description of a person, when for me, I'm going to be like, oh, that's my neighbor and whatever, you know, like, so
Yeah.
I think you, for all your everything that you've said so far, just to put my little commentary on it, like the characters are great. Like you did an awesome job with kind of just talking about the different groups, because that's kind of for the listener. You know, we have a couple different groups that were the camera's sort of going onto, and like you can fully see them as them, or like what their life is like and everything like that. So I really enjoyed all of that, and I think you did a really good job with the extreme horror. There's definitely some body and goopiness and some descriptions that, like, I think you put the right amount in for this, that we're not like, oh, we're reading an extreme horror thing, because we've done that here on the show, and like, you know, you can tell the difference, and like I think you did a really good job with what you were doing without it just being like, this is my extreme book. And so like I all the picture all the things happening to our characters, like I can picture, but it's not so over the top that I'm like, okay, it's like 5 pages of this description.
A lot of the extreme horror stuff too, to me, comes off as kind of try hard.
Yeah.
Like, I tried reading what's that fuck, The Slob by Aaron Beauregard, and like people seem to love it on the Books of Horror like Facebook group, like cool. I couldn't make it past like 20 pages. I'm like, it was just like a lot of it just comes off way too try hard to like be effective in its horror, and more just trying to be gross. Whereas I think this extreme horror came off more horrific than gross, so it was more impactful to the reader.
Well,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong. If you know, there are like you said, a lot of people read the Slob and they enjoyed the Slob. And if that's what you're into, read
Exactly.
all of it. Like, I don't want anybody to ever be deterred thinking like, oh, well, I don't want to feel like I'm reading something that is labeled as try hard. And
Right.
like, no, read whatever the fuck you want. And Aaron, if you're listening, I'm going to someday read the Slob. I have it on my list of things, along with all the stuff that Rich wants me to watch. I am going to read it someday, because I do want to see what all the hype is about. And when you see a bunch of people reading and enjoying a book, and you start thinking to yourself, maybe I want to dabble into that, then you need to look at these things also as reference material.
Oh yeah, totally.
And when he's got thousands of reviews on his book right now, I would say that would be a sign of quintessential reference material to read through.
Yeah, I'm not saying like you shouldn't read The Slob. I'm just saying I just didn't. That's pretty much what I'm.
Oh no! I get what you're saying too. I'm not trying to put anything on the spot.
Way to go, Rich. God.
fucking hater.
Yeah. What the hell? No, but like, I get like, yeah, I think it's on this show and this journey of ours. Like, I've learned where my tastes are, and so that's just my opinion. But it's definitely, when you read those extreme books, there's a lot of good stuff to learn and glean from, because it is like, even if it is a long description of somebody getting, I don't know, whatever, decapitated or whatever, like that does help you learn, like, okay, this is what's my length of description and what's too long or what's not long enough, or hey, they got really cool details in here, I like this, so I'm gonna go for this. So yeah, right. It's totally worth it. And I think for your book, you did a really good blend of that. Like, you hit the right spot, at least for me, where it was like just perfect enough without it being so over the top that you're kind of like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Oh no, I think this worked fantastically well.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, fellas.
I think
and lady, I appreciate it too.
The other
Damn
thing
right you are.
that I wanted to ask about was
I love the sass. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's why Billy and I have become more friends over the years. Is the sass? I love it.
Yes, indeed. When you're friends with me, you're getting the fucking sass.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna complain.
Sass. Sass is fun. I liked what and the cosmic-y and in the general term of cosmic horror, not talking about space horror, but this concept of
I don't mean to cut you off. I wish
no
when Rich posts these that he would put like one quote in, and that quote would be, "I like the cosmic-y."
I like the cosmic-y, you know.
Okay, sorry. Now that I'm finished making fun of you, please continue telling me how great I am.
Yes, Matt, it's bad over there.
Just like where I put weird pictures, I make up my own words. Cosmic-y, that could be a word. I think it ends with an IE. We'll put it with that.
Well, you are the sound professor on how it's spelled right now, since you made it.
I'm putting it down. I'm gonna email Webster's cosmic-y. Your cosmic. Like, you did a really good job with that, and I just kind of wanted to know, were you playing around with like some cosmic horror to put in there? Because in the term of cosmic horror, obviously we have a bit of space. You can go space, but you can also go with the the unexplained, the not knowing why this is happening, and you're not gonna show us why this is happening. And so I just want to get your thoughts a little bit on you playing with that, as well as some of the other stuff you were playing with.
Well, I love cosmic horror, and I've written plenty of cosmic horror short stories in my collections. It's kind of the genre that I wanted to more or less build myself around.
Nice.
But I don't inject it in everything, because there are certain things where cosmic horror just won't work. Because the main gist of cosmic horror is the mystery. It's, what is this thing? How the hell did it even get here? Why is it so powerful? And why can't anybody stop it? That's usually some of your main points, because the whole fear of cosmic horror is the unknown and the inability for humans to be able to do anything against it. So I love that whole idea of that. And that's one of the main reasons I made this cosmic horror centered as well. As, if it's something that just washes up in the shore and then like we're able to actually kill it, the book would have been like 15 pages. There would been no reason to have anything happen. But and that's not to say there are horror and great books that make that work, like Jaws, for example.
Yeah.
But I've always loved that idea of, we're all, in the grand scheme of cosmic horror, we're all just a dream.
Yeah.
Because there's this giant god entity that's just dreaming us right now. And he's got, a funny picture to think there's a bunch of weird alien cherubs blowing horns and, playing smooth jazz or whatever to keep him sleeping. But
just a bunch of smooth
it's
jazz.
that whole, like, even if the entity that shows up in the story, you're able to dispel. You're able to get the cult to stop summoning it, or you're able to actually fight it off, which is slim to nil. It still doesn't matter, because there's this other force that could just wake up and poof, it's all gone.
Yeah.
So, and it's also that whole self-esteem boost where in cosmic horror, you and everything around you is so inconsequential that you do not matter.
So true.
Oh yeah. That's
Honestly,
what I love about that.
Yeah, like cosmic horror. I had a story I wrote 5 years ago that has been shelved for the last 5 years, that I wrote as a cosmic horror story that deals with the effects of violence that like have on people. And 3 months ago, I realized, and I shelved it because the cosmic horror element didn't work. And I wanted it to be a cosmic horror story, but it just wouldn't work. I just recently figured out how to fix a story. It's no longer a cosmic horror anymore. But like the fact that I tried to force it to be a cosmic horror story is why it didn't work.
Yeah.
So it has its time and its place, and it's my main mode of writing because I love that shit. But sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
I think it worked really well in this.
Oh, it did.
I did have
body horror in this too, but that's also one of my favorite things as well.
Well, and that's like body horror to me is like it makes my skin crawl sometimes when you think about, you know, some of the things that in movies you watch, even like body horror is a major thing in most films. It's just one of those subgenres that for some reason most films don't get put in.
Yeah.
So like I think if you were to say like a perfect movie that encapsulates cosmic horror and body horror at the same time is The Thing.
Yep.
Yes.
You know, and everybody brings that up, but it's a benchmark in both things because it's this thing, it's this entity that yes, they can kill it, but you never know if it already replicated before you killed this version of it.
Right.
And that person that it takes over, they're in for a hell of a ride.
It's basically this open-endedness that like really encapsulates, you know, cosmic horror.
Yeah.
And that's not to even like in the ending of this book, I never say if the thing's actually done or not.
Right.
You didn't.
You know, the world's fucked basically, and you know, and not to give, I'm not gonna say how the book actually ends completely, but I never do say if it's over.
Yeah. Which that's why I was like, as I was going through it, that was one of the questions in my head as I was reading it was like, how are these people all going to meet? And like, what's that going to be like? And then especially when we do get to that ending, I'm like, I wonder what like this looks like in a broader sense. And you sort of, let us just kind of imagine what might happen.
Yeah. I actually have a question, and have you ever seen the movie The Beach House? I'm not trying to do a recommendation thing.
Luckily, I think I might have seen this one.
Sure, you're not recommending.
Like, the couple go to this beach house and like she gets wounded and there's like this organism inside of her and
that's like coming.
Okay, I do vaguely remember seeing this.
Yeah, so like I thought about that a lot near the end of this book. And I didn't say I'm not saying this is like a riff on The Beach House or whatever, but I love how like just we're seeing a small glimpse of something that's much bigger happening somewhere else. And I think that's like really fucking cool. And The Beach House kind of does that too. We know everything's fucked outside of these characters, but we're only seeing a small glimpse of like what else is happening out there. And I just love that idea that like we're only getting a small view of something that's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And I wanted to write in more characters, but at a point I thought, 4 is good. like 4 different vantage points is good, or 3, I believe it is actually. It's like 3 is good enough. And the old men, those are basically those characters are wrapped around what I feel like my old years are going to be like with my good buddy Will from Grindcast, because I feel like that's what's going to happen to us. We're going to both end up being alone. We're going to just be like eating breakfasts that we have to watch our sodium with in the mornings. And, then something like this is going to happen. And we're going to look at each other and be like, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course now.
And for some reason now we have to be the ones to help because we're the old guys.
Right. We know better. No, but I like that, and it's funny too, because last week we had Sean Thompson on and he had another story about an older person, and May, you brought that up too. Just this like, I appreciate kind of having an elderly person be a character, and in this case too, because we do seem to focus on like one age group, and it's like, well, no, this is going to affect everybody.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah, there is not a lot of elderly characters in stories most of the time. And
No.
I wanted to put him in not just because it was like a little side wink to me and my friend and how I think my life's going to end in a horrific fashion, but I also feel like with older people, we usually always look to them for their wisdom. And,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, we feel like they've been through so much. So I had this thing happen. You know, they obviously have some sort of sagely advice to give me that can help me out. And I wanted to create a situation where even if you've lived your whole life and you've learned everything you need to know, it's just like, well, I got nothing on this. What do you expect
Yeah.
me to know how to like you think this
Yeah.
happened to me back in the war or something? Like
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of put that for like with Burke, and I'm not gonna try to spoil what happens, but like at the end, you kind of force this on Burke, and I kind of got the feeling that he has never has that responsibility. So it was interesting
Mhm.
that he kind of, even though, the situation kind of called for it, he still was like a little bit like, oh shit, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of this the kind of the angle I was going at with that because the again and I have to like tiptoe because I don't want to give stuff away.
Yeah.
The first person he runs into when he's out trying to do his thing to figure out what's going on and he tries to save this one person, even that was like I wanted to write it as in he made this decision, but then he just figured that he had to stick with it because where things were at the time, if he didn't, there would be nothing else for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then the kid comes along.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah.
Well, talking about that, you did this great thing where like you went in, and we kind of already brought up One Direction, I think, with Courtney, but like this like intense part of something happening, and you're like, no, he's not going to put this kid in danger, and then you're like, yeah, I am multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna do something to this, and not in a bad way for listeners, but do something to a kid that well, actually did it twice to this kid, where it's that like idea of I'm gonna take the big thing away from you that you look to for safety, and I had to applaud you on that stuff, and then the Courtney mob stuff where it was just like, man, like up until those points, you're kind of like, cool. There's a lot of this craziness happening. We got these two old guys, and they're doing their thing, and you're like, oh, this is all good fun time. And then you're like, well, no, we're gonna put a mob in front of the smoothie place, and we're gonna have them be a mob. And I was like, holy crap, this is intense.
That I think it showed through in more in Burke and Courtney's chapters where I let people have a peek behind the curtain of my distrust
Yeah.
for public. And
Yes.
like and some of those saying like I know I had one saying in there about like a person can be smart but people are stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a saying that like was my father told me once, and I think I wrote it in there about that. Like my father told me this saying once, and it today I'm learning that it's true. Um,
Yeah.
it is sadly enough. And I was talking to I was talking to my friend Jason again from Grindcast the other day because he was mentioning he's like, oh, we never watched any like the Night of the Living Dead or Day of the Dead movies or ever, and we brought up that point where the first movie was such of a landmark because not only did you have a main character of color, which was not done ever back then, or very seldom. It was one of
Yeah.
those first movies to also show you like even if you're stuck in a house surrounded by fucking zombies, there is going to always be that one guy that says, "We need to get out of here."
Yeah.
And it only takes that one guy or girl, whichever, to unravel the whole situation.
Yes.
So, and I put that idea into this because even if you think you're safe, there it rides that razor thin edge that there is going to be that one person that just decides maybe you're not the person that should be in charge, maybe your ideas are terrible. Maybe, you know, we shouldn't even be here. We need to, as in the mist, even.
Yeah.
We got to get out and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would be totally siding with, no, I can't remember the character's name in the mist, but the guy who played the Punisher. I'd be totally siding with him in the mist because I'm
Dolph Lundgren.
sorry, but you can't see an inch in front of your face, and somebody's already like, hey, there's shit in this mist. You don't want to go out there.
Yeah.
You know, so I'd be like, yeah, I'm staying in here. You know, it's a grocery store, so there's food. We're good.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
got a bathroom.
What's up with the crazy religious lady though?
well, see, there you go.
I
There's your one thing.
I would have thrown her out. I would have just like, hey, I need to talk with you a little bit in the back, and then I would have kicked her ass.
Well, Matt, you brought up Night of the Living Dead, and one thing I always found interesting about Romero in those movies is like he even says the zombies, like anyone can defeat the zombies. Like the zombies are slow, they're stupid. The only reason why the zombies win is because people.
Yeah.
Like we let them win because we get in each other's way, we pull each other down, and we instead of like doing what's best for the group to help us, we become selfish and ruin it for everybody.
Well, correct. I mean, because at a certain point, you change from what can I do to help the people that are with me to what do I do to help myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So and there's even some people with the most empathy in their soul will eventually turn around and be like, I gotta, you know, food's dwindling, resources are, you know, we're running on ammo and da 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 da. What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
You're like, and that's not the, you know, you're not a terrible person for thinking that. I'm sure I would think that at some point, or it's what do I have to do for my family? For example. So it does, no matter what, if you're in a situation like this, people are going to become the monsters more than the monster itself.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
And mobs are always more dangerous than single people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we usually always say there's strength in numbers, but then you kind of also have to, you know, think about, yeah, but there's also a whole of a lot of weakness if if everything fucks up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's strength in numbers if you're a member of that mob that's going to take out, you know, the smoothie place on the board.
Yeah, exactly.
Or kick somebody out of a diner.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Oh, so I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our giant whale monster.
Yes.
Yes.
You mean the orca?
Yeah.
Like the abomination that is an orca?
Yeah.
With tentacles?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that I finally remember the one that I wanted to say that like got these vibes from. I couldn't remember for the life of me, so I just added Lovecraftian, and I was like, no, that kind of ticks the box, but also it reminded me of Gyo.
Of which one? Oh yes, the Junjo Ito one. Yeah, yes,
Yes,
Junjo Ito.
Gyo.
Yes.
That's, if you haven't read it, you need to read it right now.
I was thinking
that's
too.
completely where I tipped my hat to that when I created that monster.
Yes.
I wanted it to be more organic, not have like little robot legs, but
yes,
I tipped my hat to that.
Okay, great, because I was like, when I saw that, I was like,
Yeah.
Yes. And the fact that you chose not a shark, you chose a fucking orca. I mean, people usually look at them and like, oh, they're so cute. It's like Free Willy, and then you're like, you kind of have to step in, like,
Yeah.
You do know they're actually worse than sharks.
Yeah. And when I was trying to figure out what animal I wanted to use for that, I was thinking like, well, what? I'm not going to do sharks because obviously Ito had done that.
Yeah.
Like, what hunts sharks? Oh yes, orcas.
Yeah. And they play with their food. Like, they are the fucking bastards of the sea.
Didn't know you had such strong feelings about this.
No, really, because I was fucking tricked when I was a kid. Are you kidding me? I loved Free Willy when I was a kid. We had Keiko in Iceland. Like, we had that fucking orca here in Iceland, and I saw it when I was a kid. And then when I learned what the fuck they are, I was like, nope, I hate you. Please die.
You bastard stole my lunch money for the last time.
Or
So
preserve.
no, they're like they stole the seal's lunch money and then ate it too.
Yeah, orcas are one of those very misunderstood animals where people make them out to be kinder than they are. But it's like, what's the other name for an orca? Is a killer whale. So you're just kind of like, what?
It's not a misnomer, guys. It's the same like when you kind of picture otters. And you're like, oh, they're so cute. And then you realize what the fuck they do. And you're like, oh, nope. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Wait, what do otters do?
Oh, you don't want to know? It's probably not safe for this channel.
Oh my god.
So just Google it, everybody. What do otters do?
Yeah, I'm just going to say, just Google it and be traumatized like the rest of us.
They feed you poo?
No, worse than that, my man.
Oh god. I just trying to think of the stupidest thing they could do.
Well, I know.
No. You need to go.
You
need to go darker than that.
So I can read this headline.
No.
Oh no.
The headline is, and this is all I'll say, and you can do the rest yourself. The case against otters, necrophiliac serial killing fur monsters of the sea.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Huh.
I like how Matt's just like, huh.
Yep.
Would have never guessed.
It's like, take that, you stupid pictures of showing otters holding hands.
Exactly. Whenever I see that, I'm like, I hope that otter right next to him isn't dead.
It's a Weekend at Bernie's scenario.
But in a much darker way, Matt. Come on.
Oh god.
It's like Jeffrey Dahmer shit.
Oh my god.
Well,
this makes me happy. Anyway,
I'm sure this sparked some ideas for people listening to write.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, of course.
You know,
If you're ever like in a bind when it comes to like writing horror ideas, just look at the animal kingdom. You'll find some weird fucking shit there.
And if you're in a dark alley, watch out for otters because they're trouble.
Yes. And if you're in sea, especially in the Atlantic, watch out for fucking orcas.
Those bastards will steal your swimsuit and push you out to the beach.
And then eat your child right in front of you.
Yes.
Anyway, this was a great book.
It was.
Thank you.
And thank you again for making your yearly pilgrimage to Abyss, Matt.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe we can make it 2 pilgrimages a year, some coming soon.
I'm totally down for that.
But I definitely recommend our audience check this book out. And also your other books are great too. The Horror Untold collections, like all those are fun.
Thank you.
And just more people need to check out your shit. Like I think it'll be great.
I mean, that would be great. Yeah.
It's all on Amazon. It's all affordable, and it's all wonderful.
Yes.
But we're going to get in touch with you. Oh, you go, Matt.
I was going to say, and right now, some of that stuff's on sale. You can get some pretty cheap paperbacks.
Oh,
yes. One was like $5.
Yeah, a couple of them were $5. I think one was like $9. It wasn't marked down that much from like the standard 12, which, you know, I still think for a paperback's pretty cheap, but you got to do.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, get Melancholia. That was an excellent book.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. Do you have anything new coming soon?
Well, geez,
I might have
this out, Matt. Fuck.
Hey, I might have saw a post. Obviously, you can't share that, but I feel like you have some new things possibly.
I gotta go in there and be like, "Hey, hon, cancel the baby. I gotta write a new book for that.
I need something new." Is it about an otter?
Yeah. I have one that I am in the works of doing right now. It's probably going to be a shorter work, but I call it my shooty bang bang Doom this Doom style novel. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting because you know, if you read it and you're a fan of those games, you're going to get some of the stuff. But it's also trying to write a silent protagonist through third person view. So it's interesting.
Nice.
I got through the hard part of like the introduction and people being like, you don't talk much, do you? And he just stares at him. But yeah, it's going to be my goal for it is it's going to be a little bit of a slower start because I want people to get the idea of why things are the way they are and the world that we're currently in. And then it's just going to go to straight up fucking ultra violence and action.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I'm working on that. I've been kicking around the ideas of doing for the Horrors Untold series. I'm going to do a 6th volume someday. That might be happening when little Junior pops out, and because I won't be able to focus on larger books at the time, so I might just start going back into short stories. But when I get that out, I'm planning on doing an omnibus and doing it for the volumes 1 through 3 and then 4 through 6. So I wanted to do like a hardcover collection of those.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I just want to find a place that's not going to be super duper expensive because I think we're talking like 900 pages for the first collection.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Just need to find something that's going to work because it's still coming through me. So
yeah.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. And I'd be interested, like people that are listening, you know, is that something you'd be interested in grabbing, you know, getting a copy of? So
yeah.
Shout out in what's your handle on Twitter?
My handle is Rudy538.
Not you.
I meant the show, dingus.
The show is into staring.
Okay, thank you. You're not a
dingus.
dingus.
Because I have this in the story.
Yeah.
But speaking of handles, Matt, what's a handle that people can reach you at on Twitter?
Well, I've got 2 love handles. No.
just reach out for those.
Yeah, just reach out, grab on.
I'll take you on a magical adventure.
You got some grips for fun.
All right, let's get this PG, guys. My Twitter handle is @Matt_Wildasin.
All right, and Brandenburg, what about you?
Yes. It's the fun part of us Matts. I am on Twitter @BrandenburgDM.
And Vitlame?
Okay, so yeah, you can guys find me on Twitter @VitlameS.
Awesome. And like I said, I'm Rudy53088. Abyss is into staring. And this is Richard Gerlach saying, keep staring.